My name is Misha. I am so hyper focused on insulin resistance and helping people understand what it is. And why I'm there is because I suffered with it and no one caught it and no one seemed to be able to help me, even though they just kept cycling me through medications. So I'm on a mission to help you guys understand life doesn't have to be that way and you don't have to suffer with insulin resistance. Now, a lot of people don't really understand what insulin resistance is, and that's fair. I didn't either a couple of years ago. So we're going to talk this morning about what insulin resistance is. I talk a lot about the energy delivery of insulin, and I'm not going to get into depth about all the other processes of the body, but insulin is involved in over 100 different processes in the body. And when insulin is out of control, all of those things start to go wrong. And that's why we end up with all of the disorders above. So if insulin is involved in over 100 processes, too much insulin is causing the processes to go wrong, we can start to understand how all of these things are happening and how just addressing the insulin levels in your own system can help you see relief from all of those symptoms. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like nothing crazy you got to do, just understanding this thing and making a few simple tweaks in your day, and you can get your insulin resistance under control. We got to understand what's happening to our bodies. So let's dive in. And I love when you guys ask questions. By the way, thanks everybody who's here, who's joining, who's contributing. And I do love when you ask me questions. So as we go along today, I'm not going to dive in deep on anything in particular, but if you have questions about something you're suffering with and could it be related to insulin resistance, let me know. If I don't cover something enough and you need more information, let me know. All the stuff. Okay, we have an hour. I'm going to try and get through as much as I can, and we will start serving you up some insulin resistance knowledge. Okay. So I'm going to start real quick because I don't tell my story a lot and I need to do more of that. 3 years ago, um, and I've gotten so used to the story I tell in 60 seconds that I forget all the other stuff. I was looking at videos last night about all the things I was suffering with that aren't even part of my reality anymore. So, you guys, how many of you would love to, even if it took you 3 years of doing a natural system, to reverse so many of the things in your health that you can't even remember the pain that you're in today? Put a one in if you guys feel like that would be worth it to you, to be able to look back in a few years from now and be like, wow, I don't even remember. I mean, I kind of remember, but I don't really remember what it felt like to have neuropathy, to get out of bed and have my feet hurt from the moment they hit the floor till the moment I went to bed, to not be able to sleep all night because I was in so much pain, to have sleep apnea that was waking me up 60 times an hour, my eyesight failing, my teeth and gums bleeding, my hair falling out, getting facial hair, my skin starting to get, I'm 60, so it's going to get a little thin, but it was worse, to 50 extra pounds that I had on, to losing joints and having 3 joint replacement surgeries, to having muscle weakness, to having IBS and gastrointestinal issues, and ending up losing my gallbladder over and thyroid issues, not to mention the entirely insane blood pressure I had for years. People look at me in disbelief when I talk about my blood pressure because they're like, there's no way you're alive today if that's the case. And yet, it's charted in my medical history that that's what it was. So I tell it because it's the truth. I don't know how that I happened to survive that. God must have had a plan for me, must have said, Misha, I need you to stick around. I know this is a lot of pain, but you're going to stick around and you're going to help other people. That's how I view it. But my blood pressure would regularly be at about 180 over 150 every single day. The best we could get it to at the doctor's office was 150 over 110. And yet there were times when it was 220, 240 on the systolic and 160 on the diastolic. And that is heart attack range. And at least once a week, my blood pressure would wake me up at that rate at night, and I was terrified. I actually literally laid in bed and cried because I thought I was gonna die. I mean, there was part of me that was like, God, don't make me wake up in the morning. I'm in so much pain and my body doesn't feel right and it doesn't look right and all of this stuff is going on and I just can't cope with a failing memory and headaches and the constant cramps and all of the stuff to feeling like I was going to pass away in my bed at night and my kids were going to have to find that and I didn't want that for them. So it was a total state of that. Now we had depression and anxiety and oncoming Alzheimer's that was showing up in my life too. So now, fast forward 3 years, I was seeing some videos that I posted, like, 1 year on the protocol that I do, 1 year after I started learning about what insulin resistance is, and at that point in time, it was so fresh. All the things that had changed for me, I was just astounded at how one simple thing that I did that I thought was just addressing my diabetes ended up changing the entirety of my health. And since then, it's been helping others as well. And look, it's not just me. There's thousands upon thousands of people around the world, multiples of thousands, who have used the system and felt better from doing it. So we're going to dive in now. All of this stuff, my health was failing. I felt like I was dying, all of that. My blood pressure was out of control. I was on 13 different medications. And look, at 55, was it 55, 54 or 55, I won my last world championship in powerlifting. So I was healthy as far as we could tell. I was healthy. There were a number of things going wrong. I had PCOS, had Hashimoto's, had a number of things, and nobody could quite figure out what was the key piece. Or, you know what? Doctors weren't even looking to find the one key piece. They were just taking it apart as if you could take a cake, set it on the table, and be like, okay, I'm going to extract the flour out of it. I'm going to extract the eggs out of it. I'm going to extract the baking soda out of it. I'm going to extract the sugar out of it. I'm going to and look at each one of those pieces and just focus on that and think you're going to find the whole recipe in that one piece. That's what's happening with our health. They're so focused on one simple system and not broadening the view to understand that they've got this. Maybe they have an insulin resistance problem and we should go address that and see what's left over. That's what I like to do. That's why I like to talk about this. You guys, what I'm trying to do is get you to understand your health doesn't have to be this way. And look, there are going to be some things that some of us still suffer from. This is not a magic potion, it's reality. And so, if you can address the major things in your health, start to feel better, and then go step back like I've done and be like, okay, well, there's still this piece or that piece. Now, what else do I need to optimize in my nutrition and my health to help that be better? So that's where we're going to go. Now, insulin resistance. Um, at the bottom of it all is just this: too much glucose, too often, pretty simple. That's all we got to think about, right? But why does that matter? So if we're having too much glucose, which means refined carbs and starches, but also a lot of people can have this reaction to fruits and vegetables. Everybody's different. Um, so it looks different for everybody, but what it at the bottom line it is we're getting in too much glucose, too much energy into the system because our food is not supposed to be a pleasure thing alone. It's supposed to be fuel. Do I trust doctors? You know what? I worked for doctors for years, and many doctors I do trust. Some doctors, I don't like their attitude. Some doctors, I think, feel like they know it all and are not willing to learn more. Some doctors are all about the newest science and what can I learn and how can I help my customers or my clients, my patients, whatever it is to help them be healthier. I want to know that. Some are just like, this is what I learned in school. This is what the book said to me. This is the medication I've been prescribing for 20 years. That's what I'm going to do. And you can't tell me different. So that's a complex question to ask me. Do I trust doctors? Not all of them. Most of them. I feel like doctors are the same as us. They have a different education level and a different focus, but in the end, they're human beings. They know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. And either they're willing to look at what they don't know or they're not. If you have a doctor who's not willing to look at or admit that he doesn't know everything, maybe you should find a new doctor. Okay? That's my opinion on it. After working for numbers of doctors in clinics that had multiple partners in the clinic, um, that's what I learned. And sometimes those nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, sometimes I found them to be more open and less egotistical and more willing to learn and research and find out really how to help you. I was really impressed with the nurse practitioners and physical assistants that I worked with. Um, so, not taking anything away from doctors, but I feel like there is a difference in the ego of many of them. So, and then remember, we have doctor specialties because the body is so vast and the functions in the body. And we have basically an entire universe inside our skin. And it's impossible for one doctor to know everything about every inch of the body. That's why there's specialties, so they can zone in, they can look deep at that, and they can take care of it. So now, where I get my information and why I talk about this is I lean on the specialists like Dr. Ben Bickman, whose specialty is metabolism. And if you haven't read this book and you're interested, get the book. But it breaks down a lot of the stuff I talk about, how it's related to your heart, how it's related to your liver, your kidneys, your gastrointestinal system, your skin, your aging, your bones, your muscles, all of it. And then in the back, he gives you some ways to start changing your diet a little bit, the things you should be focusing on, some information about the medications that are out there. But that's all he specializes in. And guys like Giles Yao, who specialize in metabolism and eating, and Dr. Mindy Pels, who specializes in fasting, and Dr. Jason Fung, who specializes in all things diabetes. And actually, I am not supposed to talk about it much, but I'm just going to set this here and say this whole thing relates to that whole thing too. So it's a touchy subject for me to be able to talk about, but there's some truth in that. In fact, when we look at insulin receptors in the body, women, you have 6 times more insulin receptors in your breast tissue than anywhere else in your body. If you're not getting oxygen to those areas and you're getting too much glucose to those areas, you're setting yourself up for a problem. So let's dive in. So I said that it was too much glucose too often, right? So let's define that a little more, and let me have my tea, and I'm having allergies. And by the way, allergies is one of the things that got markedly better for me. But about a year and a half ago, I moved here to Maryland from the West Coast. Last spring, it didn't seem to be as bad, but I moved into a new spot this December, and it's way windier up here. And so now I'm suffering with allergies because I'm not used to all the allergens, the deciduous trees and whatnot here. So forgive me as I sound like a 3-year-old getting through this live. But insulin resistance can affect even your allergies and start you feeling better as you're getting inflammation down in your system. Know that. Okay, so when we eat, we're converting that food into energy. We're breaking it down and we're taking out all the nutrients from the food and utilizing what we can out of that for our own processes. So this gets really intense as well. But I do want you to know that there are some foods that herbivore animals who eat things like grass are meant to eat and break down, that we're just not meant to eat and break down. Their stomach system is different, their intestinal system is different. And so all of this plays a role. From the moment you take a bite till the moment it goes out the other end, your body is working on breaking down, digesting, and digesting means pulling out a lot of and breaking down the food so that those components that we need can be absorbed into the bloodstream and distributed throughout the body. So let's talk about. I gotta stay focused because I want to go off on shakes and smoothies and how I'm not an advocate of those now. But now that I understand this, but we'll get back to that if you remind me. So when we eat, enzymes are being produced when you chew. By the way, that chewing motion that most of us are not doing anymore because we're not getting healthy, hearty foods, it's breaking down our jaws. And some come on, dentists are saying, I was looking for the bigger word for it, but are saying that our jaws are receding because we're not using them to bite and chew like we used to. We've made food so soft and easy and just like, let's just get this in. Well, not only are we breaking down how our jaw works and how the enzymes that start to break down the foods work, but we're just getting in too much. Man, this is making me crazy. We're getting in too much of that energy because it's so easy to eat. I think there was a reason why food used to be a little bit heartier and chewier because it slowed our roll, right? We weren't able to just like gulp down massive amounts of food. Like think about potato chips. If you had a raw potato to eat, which I used to eat raw potatoes out of the garden when I was a kid, growing up in North Idaho, little farm town girl. Um, as opposed to a potato chip. Like I could sit down and eat a whole bag of potato chips and not really feel a lot different. But if you gave me a raw whole potato and maybe I add some salt to it, it's going to take me a while to eat that potato and I'm going to feel a lot more full. A lot less chemicals, a lot more fiber. Even though it's a very starchy potato, it would take a while longer for it to go through my system in its native state. We've ruined that with the foods we have available now. So, not only is it that our foods look different, they are different. Nutrients have been stripped out, fibers have been stripped out, enzymes have been stripped out of our foods, proteins, and then when we even look at the crop rotation part, where we should be rotating our crops and allowing the soil to replete and having cattle farms next to our like corn and whatnot, so that the manure is leaching in and nourishing the food. We've stripped all of that away, and so some scientists are saying that there's at least 5 different nutrients that are vital to us, and I'm not going to be able to recite those now because I'm smart, but I'm just not brilliant. Okay, but they're 40 to 50% less dense in those 4 or 5 nutrients than they used to be 40, 50 years ago because of all of the stuff that we've done to our food. Then, so we understand that we have all this bagged, boxed, packaged food. And if it's in a bag or a box, it's highly likely that it's highly processed. And that means it's even been broken down and stripped and then good things taken out and toxic things put back in. And so I am not a purist, you guys. I don't live my life on some like planet where all of this is just so much easier for me than it is for anybody else. I live the same life as everybody else, have the same foods available, have the same amenities available as everyone else. So we're going to get into that, but I want you to understand why first. Oh, Shelly, no, I ended up on calls all day and I forgot to post Dr. Ahmed's video. Honestly, you know what? I knew as I was doing my video last night. So, because I set this down and then I flipped it over. And so I wasn't seeing my notes. You guys, trust and believe I have ADHD. One of the things, if you don't know, man, I don't know how you guys do it. I keep hearing videos from people who are like, there's a neurotypical person in a relationship and a neurodivergent person. And they're like, my brain just does nothing when I'm not, focused on something. And I'm like, there's not a moment of the day where my mind's not thinking about something, which means that if it's in front of me, I'm thinking about it. If it's not, I'm not. And that's a struggle I deal with every day. So I apologize, but yes, I will get that done today. Dr. Ahmed, and actually I can find his link. Let me just pull that up real quick And maybe I can put a link to his, because he actually has a TikTok as well. Um, he started out with the system because he was using it for himself. Obese, starting to have problems of his own, and started the system and then realized how well it worked. Shelly? Good. It sounds like I got a few soul sisters out there, because you guys, I try. Like sometimes I lay my head down at night and I know there's something I forgot, but I just don't remember what it is. Maybe I'll get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, stub my toe on something, which sends me over there, and then it sends me over there, and it sends me over there, and I'm like, oh, that's what I forgot. That's my life. All right. So insulin resistance. When we're eating all of that food, let's get back to that, that's just converting into glucose too quickly because it's breaking down too quickly. Why is it breaking down too quickly? One of the big things that's been stripped out of like our fruits, vegetables, and all this packaged box foods that we get is fiber. So it's not just one kind of fiber. And like I said yesterday, I'm so glad that's not the word I was looking for, but I'm just so happy that there's so many people out there starting to talk about this as well, who are scientists, who are metabolic specialists, who are talking about fiber, and that one type of fiber is not going to cure this for you. That one type of fiber is not going to do the whole work, that you need a combination of the insoluble and soluble fibers. The protocol that I use actually was studied. The fiber piece was studied for over 20 years, and it's now been out for 20 years, and they continually make improvements to it as we go. So it's heavily science backed, and they studied and studied until they had this thing that reduces your blood glucose by 20%. We're going to show why that's important in a minute. But so we have food that's converting into glucose way too quickly, just digesting through us too quickly. So you eat, you get full, and then 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour later, you are hungry again because your bodies just go through it. So the fiber we're talking about is insoluble and soluble. And I'll get to the fiber in just a second. Let me finish up because I keep getting pulled off track with the insulin resistance piece. But when we have those foods that are high in sugar, and then we're being told to eat every 2 hours to keep our metabolism low and slow. And I heard a lady this morning talking about you were tired when you worked out because you needed to have a slice of bread before you worked out. Oh my God, what horrible, horrible, horrible information that is, if you understand everything really. I wonder if stiff person syndrome is a result of trauma plus PCOS. That's a good question. Um, Trauma is highly linked to insulin resistance. Trauma can cause insulin resistance, and insulin resistance can cause the inflammation. Let me write this down. Stiff person. Is trauma and PCOS. Let me do some looking, see what I can find. I like to learn. Um, okay, so that second piece of us eating every 2 hours, this is why it's not working for us. Insulin has so many processes in our body. Delivering the energy is only one, but it also enhances fat storage. It stops fat breakdown, and you cannot burn fat for fuel when insulin is active in the system. So if you're eating food that's converting to glucose, the body's naturally going to call out for insulin to transport that and start doing its job. The only really way to get that to stop, to get the insulin down so that it can normalize in the system, is to not eat, right? That means some intermittent fasting. When we do that, then we allow the other component hormone called glucagon, which tells us to burn fat for fuel. Now, there gets to be some confusion because people say, well, glucagon is rising your sugar levels. Insulin is hopefully bringing your sugar levels down. Yeah, there's some truth to that. Doesn't all this get complicated? So when we have dietary sugar, insulin comes out and starts to deliver that sugar and do all of these numerous processes in the body. When we're not eating and we're not having outside glucose come in, the body shifts and says, hey, we need energy. So glucagon, insulin went to bed. Glucagon, you can come out and play. So glucagon comes out. Glucagon doesn't start to show up in your body for about 10 hours after you ate. So if you're eating every 2 hours, you're just constantly spiking your insulin. You're constantly telling your body that you're going to feed it sugar and that's what it needs, and that's how it's going to run. And you're setting yourself up to become more insulin resistant. How do I know? I know in my 20s, I could lose weight like that. Then I started listening to the people who said, "Hey, if you really want to shift your metabolism, you need to eat every 2 hours. You need to eat 6 small meals a day." In my late 20s, early 30s, I believed that. I started doing that. I ended up at over 270 pounds eventually because of it. Now, yeah, there's a lot of other factors there as well, but that was one of the primary ones. I trained my body for so many years that it had to have fuel all the time, which meant it had to have insulin all the time, that I became insulin resistant eventually at about 57, 56, 57 years old. Finally got diagnosed with diabetes. I'd had an insulin problem the whole time. So yeah, all these influencers out there in their late 20s, early 30s who are saying, "Oh, you just need to eat smaller meals." Look them up in 20 years. Look them up in 20 years, 30 years, when they're 50, and see what their health looks like, because it's not going to be the same. Okay? It's a insulin resistance is a path that you take your body down, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't just resolve overnight either. Okay. So I know there's some questions here. Fasting, is it recommended for skinny people? So here's the crazy thing. I would talk to your doctor about that. Your liver works well, though. Well, I'm glad that your liver works well. I thought my liver was working well until it wasn't. And by then, I'd gotten the diagnosis of diabetes. I had a hernia that needed to be repaired that was actually poking out the side of my button, the size of my fist, every time I tried to engage my abs. So, yeah, my core strength is, I don't know how I did all the powerlifting because my core strength is zip. I'm working on it now that the hernia has been repaired. But um, for skinny people, you know, it's a little different for you, but insulin resistance can still be present in skinny people. It just is affecting your energy usage differently, and this gets so intricate as to how people store fat, how they use the energy, and what's going on. So it can affect your thyroid. Now, it's not as common for people to be hyperthyroid with insulin resistance as it is for them to be hypothyroid. But in a certain set of population, they can become hyperthyroid when they have some insulin resistance going on because it's messing with the way the thyroid functions. That hyperthyroid may eventually be diagnosed as Hashimoto's, and then eventually, in what stage 4 or stage 5, become just permanently hypothyroid. So there's a process that works through that. Intermittent fasting. Look, when we talk about that too, I want to there's my mind is going on all of these areas and questions to help answer that as best as I can. So look, I'm going to preface all of this with, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just a real woman who's finding out real information and passing it on. You get to work with your doctor, your provider, whatever, and figure out what works for you. um I on this channel, I talk about this a lot. Intermittent fasting is not about calorie restriction. Intermittent fasting is about hormone regulation. So if you're wanting to get those hormones of insulin and glucagon and your metabolism to turn on and off properly, then yeah, um, intermittent fasting might be good for you. But again, if you're skinny and you start losing too much weight, then pay attention to that and work with your doctor. Maybe your fast is only 12 hours. You really don't, if you're skinny, maybe don't have to fast 16 or 18 hours. Maybe 12 is good for you. But you just certainly don't need to eat all the time, because really, whether you're skinny or fat, If you're eating constantly, you're just telling your body that it needs sugar constantly for its energy source. Your body can make glucose out of breaking down stores of glycogen in the liver and the fat, and glucagon trying to raise the blood sugar. That's what it's doing. It's not like, oh, we're putting excess sugar in. It's going and scavenging and pulling out sugars from stored areas in the body so that it can be burnt for fuel. And it does that through a process called ketosis, where these little ketones are going out telling us to burn fat for fuel. There's a certain amount of glucose that can be converted from that fat, but there's a back door for that glucose to get into your muscle cells and into your tissues. It doesn't require insulin. Insulin is required when we're having dietary sugar in our system and we're overloading our bloodstream. Too much sugar, more than 1 teaspoon of sugar in our bloodstream, entirety of our bloodstream at one time, is too much. And the body sees it as toxic, and it tells insulin to go deliver that and get it out of the bloodstream. Okay. Where glucagon is saying, hey, there is no sugar in our bloodstream. Let's go find places where we can find energy and get it back into the bloodstream. That's metabolic flexibility, when you can utilize the food that you're eating, and then you can also utilize the fat that's stored on your body. In history, we've always had times, unless you were royalty or the court or whatever, you had times where maybe you didn't even have breakfast. You just had a meal or two a day. Those were big meals. And the rest of the day, you're working your butt off. So there's a number of components to this, not just the food, but our activity levels. And I'm guilty of this too, guys. I have been so tied to my desk, I'm not near as active as I once was. And when I was powerlifting, I'm a very competitive person. So I had this mindset, I had this goal, I had this thing I was trying to do. And so what I want to do right now is start to find a way to have a goal to just be more active, to break away from all the stuff I've got to do in a day and spend some time getting active. The days I do it, I'm so thankful for it. But we have to be more active. We sit on our butts and we eat more than we've ever done in our human history. Our bodies are meant for fasting. Our bodies are meant to store the food we eat when we have a lot of food, and burn the fat that it's made when we don't have food. We don't live in that kind of society. That's why we do intermittent fasting. I'm just checking for questions because I don't want to miss some, and I'm sure I have. Link, and it goes to a blank page. It shouldn't be at a blank page. The link in my profile. Let me check it, because it was working earlier today. I know there's been some problems with my links, and I've been working on them. Nope, the link the link in my profile takes you to connect with me via WhatsApp. And so here it is. It's taking you to a place where you can send me a message and say, this is what I'm suffering with. I want to know more. And I send you all the information. I want to have conversation. I want to know that I'm helping people. It just send me the message and I'll get you all the information. Okay. We're changing things up a little bit because I really, really feel like we've all gotten in this place where we're not communicating. And so I'm not doing you a service if we're not communicating. All right. After breakfast to make it effective. So let's talk about fasting. Hey, good morning, Jason. So Jason dropped a bomb on me yesterday. He is one of my rock stars. He was being told to have medications. He was being told even to have gastric bypass surgery. I have a picture of Jason. I'm going to show you a picture, bud. But he has now, his pictures are going to be a little different from what he looks like now, because he has lost 186 pounds just by doing the solution that I'm talking about, and not um, doing all the medications and surgeries. So I'm going to show you guys a few pictures. All right, here's Jason. So 186 pounds down, a number of health issues that have gotten better. Let's do this. Okay. So here's Jason. This was Jason before when I met him, and his health was pretty devastating, and he was frustrated, but he just knew he didn't want to do medications. He found me on TikTok. We've had numerous conversations. He started the same protocol we're going to be talking about, and I'll just talk about it right now. And he's lost 186 pounds now. In this picture, he had lost 150 pounds. He'd gotten rid of his hypertension, hyperlipidemia, sleep apnea, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. He was losing his eyesight, and he's not on any meds now. His A1C was 13.3, and I believe it's now under 6. This slide is a little bit older, but Jason did this as well. So what the protocol is simple, guys. It's this. I didn't even finish the other stuff because I'm rambling again today. But if we understand that the food is our problem and the rate that we're eating is the problem, there's a few things we're going to do. I have a tea every morning that helps me in a fasted state. Breakfast, that was like 120 pounds. So he's lost like 66 more pounds since that. Like another third of his weight is gone since that. So all I do is a tea in the morning and a pre-meal drink before I eat anything. This pre-meal drink has 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in it. It helps me feel full before I eat. It helps me stay full long after I eat, and we're going to go over all of those, but that's it. It's real food that's just putting back in what's been stripped out so our bodies can deal with our day-to-day more naturally, even though our day-to-day is imperfect. So that's it. 3 packets. I generally have a bottle like this, and then I just put it in, shake it up, mix it up, and we're good to go. Now, I've had some people say, but I'm going out to eat and I don't know what to do. What I do, ladies, is I just if I forget the bottle because we're doing something, I will just ask for a glass of water and stir it in the water. It's a little chunkier. Yeah, drink it down. It's still going to work. But a lot of times if I know I'm going someplace, I usually carry an over-the-shoulder small purse. I just don't want to carry a ton of stuff in my purse all the time. But if I'm going out to eat, I'll carry a bigger purse. I put my water in this. I close the lid. It stays watertight. When I get to the restaurant, then 10 minutes before the food comes out, I just pour this in, shake it up, drink it down, and I'm good to go. If I want to have pasta, I'm going to have pasta. If I want to have a steak, I'm going to have a steak. It doesn't matter. I've gotten the fiber in that's helping slow down the delivery of those sugars. Lynn Wood, you need to lose 200 pounds. Hey, Lynn. Well, use my link, message me. Let's start a conversation. I will show you if this looks like it's right for you. I would love to help you get that 200 pounds off. I also have, I don't know if her picture is still in here. Yep, Cindy. Oh, no, maybe. Well, here's Dia. So Dia has lost over 60 pounds. Doing the same thing. Dia also had some cancers. She had really bad gut health. She had fibromyalgia, and she was just having anxiety, depression, and a number of other problems. She's been doing the system for just less time than me, so about 2.5 years, and she's thriving. It's done so much for her that she does it, her husband does it, her son does it, and now her teenage daughter with some ADHD is doing the system because we all understand how much this nutrition is a part of us feeling better. All right. Let me see what we got going here. Oh, Sonny. Lynn, yeah. You guys just use that link in my bio. It says WhatsApp. So what it's going to do is, and I use WhatsApp because, look, not all of my clients are in the US. I have people in New Zealand. I have people in Australia. I have people in the UAE. I have people in Ireland and the UK. And so it's just easiest. And Canada. Canada is like a major foreign country to us, right? No, just kidding. I love my Canadians. But it's much easier for you guys to just contact me on WhatsApp. Doesn't cost you as much, and you can get a hold of me no matter where you're at in the world when you use WhatsApp. That's why that link is in there. You can text me, and if we need to hop on a call, if you'd prefer to hop on a call, I can do that. If you just want to get some information via text, I can do that. and we help you, and then you get to talk to me as much or as little as you need along your journey, and as you start to learn and understand the little things you can change in your diet to help you get better. And we're going to talk about some of those things. So Sunny Cal, this is amazing. I'm going to screenshot this because I want to remember this and reach out to you later. But Sunny Cal's doing the system. Um, those dark skin patches on her elbows are no longer as dark as they used to be, and they will go away. So my skin, my elbows used to have dark skin patches all the way around and all the way down to here. And this was like rough and scaly and catching on my clothes. And it was not just there, but it was on my knees as well. And now I know that's a sign of insulin resistance. So when I am out in public, and I'm not a judgy person, I'm just an observant person. My mind with autism, I want to put things together. I want to piece the puzzle together all the time. So when I look at people, it's about understanding what could be going on with them. But I'll see dark skin patches around their neck, where the collar of their t-shirt rubs or their jacket rubs, on their elbows if it's summertime, on their knees, under their arms. Like it blows me away. There are so many beautiful, beautiful people who seemingly have a decent metabolism if you just look at the size of their body, and yet they're doing dances and stuff and they raise their arms and there's these big dark patches under their arms. That's a sign of insulin resistance. So I applaud you, Sunny. That's amazing. That's one of the things I look at all the time. I do stay cognizant of that because those dark skin patches were embarrassing. I don't know about you, but I kept feeling like maybe I just didn't clean enough, so I kept scrubbing. I would use coconut oil to moisturizer and shea butter, and I had all these, like, I was doing salt scrubs and sugar scrubs and all this stuff to try and clean those up, as if those dark skin patches were just um, because I wasn't clean enough, which was not true. It was coming from the inside out. It's a warning sign from your body that, hey, something's going on. And yet most of us, including our doctors, miss it. Like if doctors knew when a child walk into their office and they have dark rings around their ankles, they have dark spots on their knees, they have maybe a dark ring around their neck. I remember a kid I used to work in an equestrian factory making saddle pads and riding tights. I've done a lot in my life. And there was a kid who in his mom had gotten divorced from an abusive husband, and she had 3 kids. And the sad truth was she had 2 old broken down cars, and one was basically the house they lived in. They didn't have running water. They didn't have any of that. So they ate a lot of packaged food because they didn't have a place to cook. And he would come into the factory in the morning and take a shower, and he would come out and there would still be dark rings around his neck. And I remember back then not understanding insulin resistance, thinking, did you even clean? Like, how judgmental was that of me to look at this kid who was suffering metabolically, who probably had a lot of other health issues that I couldn't see, to just think that he was dirty. But that's how most of us think, and that's what the doctors think. But if instead we could get these kids, and the doctors or people who knew looked at them and said, hey, these things are just symptoms of something else going on. Let's fix the root cause. That can get better. Now we're saving your liver, your kidneys, your heart, all of the stuff on down the line. So it's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. I'm just really, that took me off on a track, but I'm so happy because that to me means you're getting better. And people will look at the system and think, oh, it's all about the weight loss. I try to be very careful and say it's not all about the weight loss. I want people to focus on their health and not they are embarrassing, Sunny, and I get it because yeah, like it was, I didn't want to wear shorts in the summertime. First of all, I'm chunky and my knees are swollen because there's full of edema. And now I have these dark patches on them, and I have dark patches on my elbows, and I have dark patches under my arms, and I was starting to get them on my neck, and I had melasma that made me feel like a Star Trek character on my face, and then I had skin tags on top of it. Yeah, like I know I'm 60, but I still feel 12 inside. Sure didn't feel like it on the outside. It's $5 a day. So these 3 packets I am so sorry, these allergies. So the 3 packets total. So you're getting 30 of the tea, 60 of the balance. It works out to $5 a day. Less than you pay for Starbucks or McDonald's or that candy bar and soda pop or whatever, and it's helping you get healthier. Yeah. You've been doing it since October and your knuckles too. You know what, Sonny? I thank you because I think this is the first time that I even thought about that. I was so focused on my elbows, knees, neck that I never paid attention until now that like I had dark circles around all my knuckles, right? That just kind of darker spot that was present on all of my knuckles before I started the system. Again, just an early warning sign. So happy for you, Sonny. Um, okay. So gluten-free, yes, it's gluten-free, it's halal, it's all plant-based. There is nothing in these that interferes with other medications that you might be on. So there's like one of the so much information trying to come out of my mouth all at once. As far as citrus, grapefruit is the one thing that would interfere with other medications, and this doesn't have any of that in it. So, yeah, no, I find we have people who are more carnivorous who do this. We have people who are vegetarian who do it. No animal products in it. Gluten-free halal. Yes, absolutely. Um, and yeah, like last night when I was Linwood, I was on the phone with a sweet, sweet lady who's 72 who's trying to get her health back as well. And we just had a conversation for a little over half an hour about what's happening with her, what's going on, and just some other things that she might want to try and do and just help her at the age of 72 because it looks different. The older you get, it does look different. Um, So yeah, it's just a powder. I wish you know what, I normally do this live. So it's just a powder. This little tube, there's a little easy tear top on it. You just tear this off. If there was water in here, I would just pour this into the water, shake it up and drink it. And that's what's in here. That's part of the reason I like this. Instead of those canisters, I used to have a canister of Metamucil and one of Benefite. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I took a break from traveling because I got over traveled. But if I was traveling, if I put something like this in my bag, it's going to get open. I'm going to have everything in my bag wiped down. I'm going to have to get stopped at airport security because of this canister. Just what happens. Plus, now you have to open this up. You have to measure it out. You have to hope you're not spilling it, all of that. And it's one type of fiber. And one type of fiber does not do the job. This has never gotten me stopped at an airport. This fits right in the side of my purse, and I can mix it in water wherever I'm at. I drove up to Toronto 2 months ago, and I just kept these in my console. And every time I needed energy or something, I would just have bottles of water and my Stanley cup, fill the cup up with water, put the tea in. I'm good to go. I'm not worried about like finding weird stuff or having to find hot water to steep the tea. It just mixes in water and you can have it hot or cold. Okay. This just goes in cold or at least room temperature water, shake it up and drink it down immediately. This has like a light orange flavor. This comes in a number of flavors, but lemon is one. There's no lemon in it. It's just the natural flavor of the tea. The yerba mate tea has a naturally lemony taste. Okay. So it's that simple, you guys. Now it's so simple. I have a 13-year-old granddaughter, a 14-year-old grandson who do it. My daughter-in-law does it, and now my grandson, who's 7, who has a genetic disorder. So it doesn't matter what other disorders you have. The one truth we have today is that 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy, and that means we need to get our food and our energy delivery system into our body fixed. So if people have other diseases and disorders, where am I going with this? What I want to say is that it still is worth addressing the insulin resistance. If you look at all of the things that were above here. Let's fix this again so you guys can see that. Um, and start to understand that all of these things above are linked to insulin resistance. And if you can get relief from a number of those things by just getting the insulin in control in your body, then you can find relief. Now, one of the things I haven't talked about yet is that there is a 90-day money back guarantee. There's a triple guarantee on this. 90 days. If you don't feel that your health is better, if you don't feel it's working for you, you get your money back. But please give it 90 days. It doesn't like a spiced cider. Mine has yet to come. I haven't tried it. I feel sad because this is one of the first times I haven't been one of the first ones to try the new flavor, but here we are. I'm waiting for it to come in. So yeah, it's just super easy, super portable, and I can take it anywhere with me. And a number of my family members, type 1 diabetics can do it because type 1 diabetics can become insulin resistant as well. Understand that they can become insulin resistant as well. And if you know a type 1, message me and we can talk about it, or just ask me and we can talk about it. And let's go from there. Also, the company is working on right now. The balance is transitioning to what we call natural, so sweetened with stevia. The lemon Unimate is also available in the natural, and we'll be transitioning some of the other flavors to stevia over sucralose as this year goes on. So the apple cider, I can't wait to try it. It is up for a limited time. If there's good response to it, it will probably come back. But right now there was a limited run, so it's not available like the lemon or the lemon ginger all the time. So there's that. Any other questions for me? Now, I do want to go over the reason I started off with this whole insulin resistance talk today and sharing my story is I haven't gone over for a long time how to tell if you're insulin resistant. So I explained a lot how to know if how to know why we get insulin resistant, but how to tell. So five top ways you can tell if you're insulin resistant, and they're in this list. The number one thing is high blood pressure. 95% of high blood pressure is caused by insulin resistance. So if your blood pressure is 130 over 80 or higher, you're likely insulin resistant. Just start addressing yourself as if you are. What's it going to hurt to put nutrition back in your body and let your body do what it's supposed to instead of going and pumping in medications, which is what I was doing because that's what the doctors were giving me, and it wasn't helping my blood pressure. Now my blood pressure is normal, 110 over 70, and I'm not on any medications. Was that worth trying for 90 days for me? Absolutely it was. So 5 ways: blood pressure, and then those skin tags and skin discoloration. If you see those, that's a sign that you're insulin resistant as well. PCOS and erectile dysfunction. So those are the top 5 ways: high blood pressure, those 2 skin issues, acanthosis nigricans, skin tags, and then PCOS and erectile dysfunction. If you have any one of those, it's very, very likely that you're insulin resistant, and you should just start addressing it and see what gets better. Now, some other things that you can tell if you're insulin resistant, and these symptoms go all over the place, right? So if you're having migraine headaches, if you're having brain fog, anxiety, depression, it's linked to the worsening of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and autism and ADHD. Now, most of those latter ones, it gets worse with insulin resistance. I'm not saying insulin resistance causes it. Let's be clear. But as an autistic and ADHD person, do my symptoms get worse? My sensitivities, my light noise sound sensitivities get worse when I have a lot of sugar and when I know that I'm starting to be more insulin resistant? Hell yeah. Since I started cleaning up my diet and understanding this whole premises of keeping my blood sugars level and doing the intermittent fasting, a lot of those symptoms have gotten much better for me. Now, Some of the other things are, if your belly, one of the other big cues, probably number 6 on the list, is if your belly is starting to protrude. So it looks like you're pregnant, whether you're pregnant or not, whether you're thin or heavy. If most of your weight is starting to come out from around your belly and it's all in that area, that's a big sign of insulin resistance. Um, Falling out in chunks. Um, So let's talk about that because that's a symptom too. It's also related to PCOS and hormonal disruption that happens with insulin resistance. What I did to my hair for my hair to grow back in my late 50s was simply get my insulin under control, control my carbohydrates, prioritize protein and fill up with fats and get fiber in first before I eat anything. That started changing my metabolism or the hormones that run my metabolism so that everything started to normalize and my hair started growing in. Now, when I was looking back at old videos, I remember there were some videos where I used to have these like these hair pieces. These have been cut now, but this in the front, this wasn't there 3 years ago. There was a point in time where I almost looked like I had bangs because all of this hair in the front was growing in, and this hair on the side was dramatically thinned. This has always been a thin spot for me, but this was almost completely gone. So I started wearing my hair forward to cover that because my hair was thinning and falling out. I felt like every day I pulled chunks, right? Like big wads of hair out of my brush. Now, if I clean my brush once a month, which isn't exactly healthy, but if I pull the hair off my brush once a month or every couple of months, that's amazing. But it used to be that I was pulling that off almost every day, that there was big chunks of hair in my shower, right? There's hormonal dysregulation, has to do more with estrogen and testosterone that is being dysregulated by too much insulin. I've done talks on that and I'm more than happy to do another one. But that is a big contributor to your hair falling out. Testosterone being too high, estrogen being too low, the body not being able to convert testosterone into estrogen because of the interference of insulin, all has a part to play in that for many people. Now, there are, as with anything, there's going to be a section of this that really doesn't seem to apply to certain people, right? But for the majority of us, if women, especially in menopause or as you approach menopause, I think it's even more important to address your insulin resistant because now you're going through all of these other changes. And ladies in menopause, how many of you guys have felt like a frozen shoulder? There are so many clues. I saw it from Marie Haver Claire wrote a book on menopause because there are so many things, symptoms related to menopause that people miss and that are weird, right? And we just think, oh, it's just us. But no, it's menopause. Here's the thing in menopause, and as we get older, our hormones are downregulating anyway. And now, if we have high insulin levels that are interfering with hormones that are already not functioning properly, we have a big problem. So, I think in menopause, it's even more important to address our insulin resistance to give our body a fighting chance with the hormones we have left. Okay. So, all I did to get my hair to grow back in was I did some intermittent fasting. I eat twice a day. But again, it's not about calorie restriction, guys. I'm focused on nutrients. Today, I'm probably going to, I've just been feeling like I'm not getting in enough protein. So I'm going to probably break my fast this morning with a protein shake that has about 50 grams of protein in it and a good amount of fats. And that's where I'll start. That will keep me full for several hours. Then when I eat later today, it will be a big old chicken breast stuffed with broccoli and cheese. Again, about 50 grams of protein. And then I just limit the carbs in between. So I had this in the morning, which I'm doing now. It feels like a cold. My allergies are so bad. And then I have this before I eat anything. Now, even though my protein shake is very low in carbohydrates and high in protein, I'll have one of these. So let's talk about, everybody goes, oh, berberine works great. Yeah, berberine does work great. Let's just address that elephant in the room. Berberine works great, but it's an extract from plants that is not giving you the other benefits of this. So what if you had something that worked even better than berberine while feeding your gut, while growing more positive gut microbiome, while helping with the IBS and the Crohn's and all of that, not just bringing your blood sugar down? Which would you rather do? So if I had a choice, if somebody put berberine in front of me and this in front of me and said, you can only have one, I would do this because it's giving me much more health than just the berberine alone. It's still doing a similar action of bringing the blood sugars down. This has scientific studies with this particular product that it will reduce a blood sugar spike by up to 20% with one packet. 2 packets, it can reduce that spike by 28% and insulin spike by 27%, and that's huge. Getting that insulin spike down a little bit means that the insulin will come down quicker and you're not in that fat storage mode as long, which is causing all of this hormonal dysregulation. Okay. So that's all I did, Annie, to get my hair to grow back was address that. So the 6 simple steps I give are fiber first, which is this. Every time I eat, before I eat, I have at least 2 packets of this a day. And oftentimes I try to get in even more fiber just to help my gut microbiome be healthier and overcome this lifelong IBS that I've had, on the verge of Crohn's and some diverticulitis. But this has helped me start to manage that extremely well. In fact, so well that I feel like I'm normal unless I decide to have a day where I'm like, ooh, I want to have that cookie, I want to have that stuff, and then within an hour, my IBS is flared up. It's amazing how quickly you can see what's toxic to your body when you clean it up a little. But that's it. You don't have to be strict with anything. When I lost the first 50 pounds, I was still having McDonald's or Jack in the Box once a day because I was driving for Lyft and Uber, and that's all that was available to me at 2 o'clock in the morning for food. But I still lost 50 pounds and started reversing my A1C, my blood sugars, my lipids, all of that just by adding this in. Now, am I going to tell you I want you to go eat pizza every day and just put this in? No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you I want you to do a little better. I want you to do a little better with your food. I want you to focus on proteins on your plate first. And the importance of this order is huge. It can reduce a blood glucose spike as well as adding that reduction of blood glucose by just the order you eat your food. And then adding the fiber in first is tremendous. So fiber first, which for me is this, right? It's hard to get the amount of fiber that's in this out of a single type of food. And the salad you guys are eating does not give you that fiber. So I do the fiber first, then I prioritize the protein. So the next thing on my plate, and this took a while for me to adjust to, right? Because I was always like, you eat your veggies first, right? But no, now I eat the protein first and the fats alongside of it. And then I go to the veggies and the salad after. Because I'm putting in the fiber before I eat the proteins. That helps reduce that blood sugar level in your body and helps you keep it under control, as well as adding the system in. So what the system is doing, again, I had this up and I wanted to go over this, so I'm just going to do it. Today. I'm going to show you guys a few things. What we're talking about with insulin resistance. I was just checking questions here. So let's take this off. Okay. When we're eating and we're in an insulin fed state, this is what's happening. You eat, your glucose level spikes. Okay. And then after you eat, insulin is in your blood present so high because you've been training your body that that's what you're going to do is feed it sugar. Insulin is already out. It's not waiting to come out. It's already out. So it grabs that sugar, it delivers it. It's blocking fat breakdown, it's blocking fat burning, and it's stimulating fat storage. At the same time, it can cause this glucose crash. So if you're feeling tired, shaky, I used to get chills after I ate, and I kept asking doctor after doctor and person after person, like, I get so cold after I eat. Why am I cold after I eat? Well, this is what was happening. My blood sugars were dropping so rapidly that I would go into a hypoglycemic state where you just want to feel like you want to crawl under your bed and curl up with a blanket. That's another sign of insulin resistance. If you're having that chills, fatigue after you eat, it's not just about the tryptophan or the whatever. It's about the blood sugar crash that you're experiencing after you eat, especially a high carbohydrate lunch, dinner, breakfast. Look, we've come so far. My auntie was a nurse, and I remember because they stayed on our property for a while when we were younger. She went through a divorce, and they had a trailer house on our property, and so it was just like a walk across the yard to go see her because we had 5 acres up in North Idaho. But I would go into her house, and her kids are having apple pie and ice cream for breakfast. Her reasoning was they're getting dairy, they're getting grains, and they're getting fruits, and that's what the standard American diet or our nutritional pyramid used to look like, right? Lots of grains. Well, now we know that's not true. Now we know that's flipped over, and the proteins and the fats that were at the very top of the pyramid are now down towards the bottom because that's where we need to focus. As we've been doing science, we understand that it stops the glucose crash. So there's that. If you're having this glucose type crash, what's happening is you have too much insulin in your bloodstream and it's happening too rapidly. The system that I'm talking about, even if you do 3 meals in a day, and a lot of people do, not everybody has to do 2 meals a day, but even if you're doing 3 meals in that 8 hour period, which you can do, um, without the balance, your glucose is spiking, right? So again, insulin doesn't come down as quickly as the glucose does. So insulin's going to stay high. And then you eat in 4 hours and you pump it back up, starts to come down a little bit, but now you're eating again and it pumps it back up. But guess what? When we're eating every 2 hours and we're snacking, this is just constantly. Now you're adding some more spikes in between here. Now it's just pumping up that insulin more and more. What the system does is it allows the insulin levels to come down. Now, when we do eat and we precede it with this balance, then we're slowing down that sugar spike, which allows the insulin spike to stay low and slow, and you get more into a fat burning stage in between meals and at the end of your meals. The more metabolically flexible you become, the more true that is. So that's why the part of the reason why the balance, I'm going to go over all of those in a second. But you guys, when we look at insulin resistance, this is why I talk about it every day, because these things are all highly related to insulin resistance. So fatty liver, sarcopenia, dementia, Alzheimer's, heart disease, stroke, PCOS, high blood pressure, migraines, obesity, even childhood obesity, osteoarthritis, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, and certain types of cancers can all be linked to insulin resistance. So that's why this is so important, and we all need to understand what really is at the root of our disorders today. I did this because there's even more than those pre-made ones you find out there. But look at neuropsychiatric. There's science behind all of this being linked. Peripheral neuropathy, Alzheimer's, retinopathy, neuropsychiatric disorders, including Parkinson's and autism and ADHD, can all be linked to, or worsening of the symptoms can be linked to high levels of insulin in the blood. Gastrointestinal diseases, so like diabetes, high triglycerides, non-alcoholic fatty liver, ulcerative colitis are all linked. Endocrine system, chronic inflammation, fatty liver, obesity, PCOS, problems with the kidneys. And yes, these cancers, again, it's not something I get to talk about a lot. But in the presence of insulin resistance, there seems to be an increased risk of breast, ovarian, colon, bladder, pancreas, liver, and come on, the word is escaping me now, but testicular cancer for men, prostate cancer. Okay, so, but tinnitus, vertigo, and Meniere's disease is also highly linked. I have a couple of friends who one was having just tremors and shakes. She started doing the tea it started clearing up for her. Another one was diagnosed with Meniere's, was frustrated. She started doing the system. Within about a month, her symptoms got better and didn't return while she was on the system. Periodontitis, that bleeding teeth and gums, there's a lot going on there with inflammation, infection, oxidation, whatnot, that's causing bleeding of the teeth and gums. That gets better when you address the high levels of insulin in your system. And then we look at things like cardiomyopathy and atherosclerosis. We talked about some of those yesterday. Strokes, DVTs, hypertension, all linked. Okay. This is why I'm on here talking about it. Can you see yourself or someone that you know in this list? Because most of us can. And I think it's really important we understand these pieces. So again, those 5 top ways you can tell are these 5: hypertension, skin tags, acanthosis nigricans, PCOS, and erectile dysfunction. Those are all top indicators that you are insulin resistant. I'm going to get to the products here as soon as I get through these. Would you click over? Okay, so then I remember I mentioned a bulging belly, retaining water, constantly hungry, chronic fatigue, that low blood sugar. But one thing, if your triglycerides are high and your HDL is low, that's a sign of insulin resistance. If you go to my how to tell tab on TikTok, there's calculations in there that help you understand. And if anybody wants to know that calculation this morning, I will give that to you. Or you can just find it in the TikTok if you're there. This, as I was saying earlier, this is what's happened to our food. Carrots, do you guys recognize this as a carrot? Because that's what a carrot used to look like up on the upper left-hand side. And this is what it is today. How did it get from here to here? Fibers, nutrients got stripped out to make this more starchy, plump, juicy, glucose-filled. Watermelon. Like, guys, I love watermelon. I love watermelon. But I'm also very aware, even though it has some really great properties to it, we've stripped out the things like fibers that slow down that delivery of fructose into our system. So I affectionately call watermelon sugar water in a shell, because this top one up here is what watermelon used to look like. Lots less of the fructose in there, a lot harder to get to it. We couldn't eat it as quickly and as much as we do now. And then corn. How many of you guys think corn is a vegetable? It's a grain. But it's so changed that we think of it as a vegetable now because it's high in starch and it just lands. How many of you guys put, yeah, let's put a 1 in your plate in your comments if you've given your family corn and said I gave them their vegetable, because what you gave them is a grain. So this is what's happened to our whole dietary system. We've been so deceived and so misled by an industry that just wants to sell us food that our health is suffering from it. On the bottom of this, or at the bottom of that one, if you look at it, this is a grain. Okay, so all of this stuff, all of this small writing here is stuff that's been stripped from that grain, so we can get to this, which turns to glucose in our system too quickly. This is the problem. We've stripped all of nature's protection and defense away, and we got to the part in the middle that nature was like, slow down, we don't want to have so much of that. We've done this to ourselves. So those 6 simple principles, you guys, are that fiber first, screenshot if you want to, prioritize protein, fill with fat, control carbs, watch the clock, move your body. Now, I do have a link for an ebook if you guys are interested. Just text me ebook or let me know, and I will go over all of those things in the ebook. But all of these things, including intermittent fasting as a part of it and getting some exercise, has been shown to improve obesity, insulin resistance, high cholesterol, hypertension, and inflammation, all by just making simple changes. And for me, the system has been at the core of that because it made it all easier. This little chart is just showing us, when I talk about what happens with the body when we're eating and when we're fasting, this is what's happening. Okay, so say you have your dinner around 6 p.m. About 8 p.m., your fasting window actually starts. Your glucose levels have kind of peaked out. They've been delivered out. They're starting to come back down. Your blood sugar normalizes about 4 to 6 hours if you're really insulin resistant after that meal. So can you see what's happening if we're eating every 2 hours? If we're eating every 2 hours, we're just spiking that glucose all the time, and it's never allowing this other stuff to happen. So now about 8 hours after you've eaten, your insulin levels will drop. It takes about 2 hours after those insulin levels drop for your body to go, "Okay, let's produce some glucagon to get this other energy source out for our body because we're kind of running low on energy and we need it." But there's plenty of energy stored. So glucagon, another hormone, comes out and starts to that process. Your HGH, your human growth hormone, goes up. Your ketones go up. You're not losing muscle at this point. You're actually normalizing the muscles getting fed. When you're in an insulin resistant state, it blocks some of the feeding of your muscles. And so now you have that sarcopenia or muscle wasting. There's a big myth that intermittent fasting is going to cause you muscle wasting, muscle loss, and that's just a myth. That's what it is. So now for me, my digestive system reset about 6 a.m. because I had my dinner. Well, I had my dinner about 5 last night. So I'm trying to switch that back. But that means right now I'm having my Unimate, just like that thing says, and it's helping me feel full. It's giving me mental clarity. It's giving me energy. It just gets my day started in a way that makes my life so much easier. And then as I go on about my day, my fat burning is starting, my HGH is increasing, ketones are increasing, my body's ramping up some fat burning. For a woman with a number of health issues, one of the ways that I've been able to maintain that 50-pound weight loss and my health is through intermittent fasting and then focusing on nutrients when I do eat. So now at about 10 a.m., so about 14 hours in, your fat burning really starts to ramp up because insulin is down. And so your body goes, okay, we can burn fat for fuel. And then at about noon, normally you'll have lunch about 16 hours after you had your last meal. And you just start the whole thing over. Again, it's not about calorie restriction. When I eat those couple of meals during the day, what I'm doing is focusing on getting in at least 50 grams of protein per sitting, um, a nutritional and by physiological or metabolic, not he's not a metabolic scientist, but physiological processes is what he was studying. But he said we used to think that we could only get in about 40 grams of protein in a sitting and have it utilized. Well, they're now showing that we can actually ingest about 100 grams of protein in a sitting. Yeah, we're only going to use about 40 to 50 grams of it immediately. The rest is kind of like that time release. It starts getting utilized over time. There's a reason protein is the most satiating of our macronutrients. It's a building block and it gives energy and it spikes our insulin the least. So protein is key. And I just wanted everybody to understand that. Now let's get back to the products. Before my nose gives out and I drive everyone crazy, let's get this done. So this is what my day really looks like on a timeline, right? I'm having my tea, I'll have my lunch. Before I have my lunch, I'll have this balance. Now in this afternoon, because today's a really busy day for me. Tuesdays are always my busiest day. Tons of meetings, tons of calls, tons of stuff going on. If I decide I need more energy, I'll just have another Unimate. And I generally do have 2 Unimate in a day. Then before dinner, I'll have another balance. That's it. How I eat, what I eat, I don't have to worry about it too much. Yesterday, I kind of regretted it afterward. Look, I still have the feels for some foods too. But I ordered a Five Guys burger. Forgot that they're double patty, which was great because I had extra protein. But I had a Five Guys burger for dinner. Did I have to worry about it? No. The bun that was on it, I just have this, and that helps regulate that glucose. Did it have vegetables, onions, and mushrooms, and tomatoes, and all of the stuff? Yeah. But was that enough? No. So I add this in. But I don't have to eat like rice and chicken and broccoli every day or turkey and broccoli every day. And I just don't have to live like that. So somebody asked for the ebook. Let me get the oh boy, where did I put the ebook? I will get that and drop it in in this chat in just a minute, Gail. Okay. Or actually, Gail, I'll round back after this live and I'll make sure that that gets dropped in for you. I usually have that link stored someplace, but apparently I can't find it today. All right. So that was that's the day of my life, right? Now, the tea that I drink, one of the reasons I love it is it does go through this 5-step process that we hand pick it. It's at the right time of ripeness. It's ethically, sustainably harvested. We fire roast it to help remove the components that we want you to get from the bulk of the plant, the stuff that you don't really need. Then we extract that, we concentrate it, and then we take it to a lab in Switzerland that puts it through a process called hyper pure. So now, not only do you have a product that is, or a tea that is highly concentrated, so much so that one of the main components, chlorogenic acids, which can cross the blood-brain barrier and help with cognition and all of that, is 375 times more potent in this one drink than in any bagged standard yerba mate tea out there. So do I want this without all the trouble of steeping and all of that, or worrying about the pesticides and toxins in those bagged teas and molds? Or do I want something that's really pure, giving me 375 times the components? And by the way, those actions that some of the drugs, Monjaro, whatnot, are eliciting in your body through synthetics, this is supporting your body in increasing that GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide action, by up to 70% with this tea. No medications, just the tea. Okay, so that's the tea. But some of the great things in the tea are, look at, you can have it all day long. You can have it before tests, before meetings. It's not ever going to pop you on a drug test, make you feel jittery, make you feel crashed, make you feel depleted afterward. It improves endurance during training by 10 to 15%. We have world champion powerlifters. We have sports team and baseball players. And we actually have a pretty big name in basketball who's doing the system now too. And I'm not going to drop their name, but you would recognize the name immediately, and they're doing the system because it's working for them, making them feel better, keeping their weight off, keeping their muscles on, all of the stuff that we want during physical performance. The tea helps with all of that. Antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory properties in it, and it actually works really amazing for you. So then we have that chlorogenic acid. I'm just going to skip over those. What you just need to know is these big words like chlorogenic acid, theobromine, they all have really great properties in the body. You want me to slow down and go over it? I can do that, but just know that these things are all helping with healthy blood sugars, healthy heart rate, healthy triglycerides from a natural product. And then when we look at, you can drink it anytime, right? And I drink like 5 or 6 in a day when I'm sitting in training. Then the second piece, the fiber piece, is 7 different patented, a blend of 7 different fibers, soluble and insoluble. I talked about that. But it also has 3 other patented blends in it. Are the fibers patented? No. It's the blend and the amount and the action they have that's patented. You won't be able to find it anywhere else. And that's why it's so much better than Metamucil and all of those things. And I have a story about Metamucil. Let's talk about that real quick. So I have one of my clients was like, her husband was like, oh, that $5 a day, that's too much. I'm just gonna go drink this. This has worked fine for me my whole life. I'm gonna keep doing this. And the wife kept doing the system and getting better and getting results. And the husband was like, yeah, hooey, whatever. One day, true story, he ran out of this. And she's making his lunch, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because he was using the Metamucil to help him move, his bowels and all of that stuff. So she was like, well, here you go. I am going to send these with you, mix these up, drink them during your workday before your meals, and let me know. He came home and he said, never, ever buy this again. It doesn't even work close to the same as this. Okay. So he switched. Once he tried it, actually did it, He was like, never buy this again. And they don't buy this anymore. They just do this. Okay. Again, plus it's so much easier for him to just have in his lunchbox, mix in some water, I'm done, instead of having a little baggie of this or a little packet of this that, he has to measure out and take with him. So now with the fiber, this biosphere fiber, I don't talk about the balance as much, and I should. I love the balance, you guys. It's done so much for me that it's just insane. So it has a unique blend that includes 5 different sources of fiber, and they help slow cholesterol levels and the conversion of high glycemic carbohydrates. That's scientifically designed. It's not one type of fiber. It's not a pill of berberine. It's 5 scientifically combined fibers that have been proven to help with your blood glucose and your cholesterol levels. But there's another one, the 7X technology is a blend of these plant-derived polysaccharides or viscous fibers, and they are soluble and form a thick gel when mixed with water. In fact, if you were to look up the fibers that are most effective for helping lower blood glucose, there's 3 of them, and you'll find them all in this blend. You won't find them in here. Okay, so that's part of it. So that fiber gets in your gut, it expands before you eat. So now you're getting full before you even eat. Now, when it's all gelled up and thick in your gut and you're already a little bit full, and it always amazes me when people are like, well, I don't want to do the fiber before I eat because then I'm just too full to eat. That's kind of the point. That's kind of the point. Okay, so now that's thick and jelly in your gut, right? Thick and jelly like flubber in your gut. But what happens is now you go to eat something like that Five Guys burger last night. It goes in, that gel matrix starts to encapsulate the food you've eaten, and it starts to slow down how quickly it passes from your gut into your intestines so that your body can absorb more of the nutrients, and that it can start to slow down the delivery of the sugar and the fats into your system, bringing the blood sugar levels down, bringing the triglyceride down, and allowing you better nutrient absorption. Sunny, let's talk. Yeah. Um, so you guys, today I am going to forewarn you. I love, love, love connecting with you. But from now until about 4 p.m. Eastern time, I'm in meetings all day. That starts, I should have been off of here now. But I will call you all back today. I just won't be able to do it right away for some of you, and I know you want the answers right away. I'm going to get them to you, okay? So now with the balance, the next thing is we do have added learning this. I just shoved mini chocolate bites asleep immediately. Yeah. Yeah, okay, you guys, I promise on Facebook, YouTube land, I will get that link in here. Before I leave this desk to go get in meetings, I will put that link in Facebook for you guys. And then if anybody over here is on TikTok is interested in it, just message me and I'll get it to you. Okay, so the balance is doing a number of things, helping you feel full before you eat, helping slow down the delivery of sugars and fats, helping you feel full longer after you eat so you have less of the need to snack and have the breakthrough hunger. All in all, it reduces your blood glucose, your triglycerides. It's what helped get my heart healthy. By the way, with a blood pressure of 180 over 150, do you think that I was scared to do something that was a stimulant? Hell yes, I was. I was terrified. But lo and behold, my blood pressure got better. And that's why we have Dr. Ahmed, who is recommending it as well. Okay. You guys, if you're interested in the system, let's just have a conversation, a quick conversation to see if this is right for you. And we'll get you started. I'll be there to coach you along the way, but I do have to go. I just realized I'm like, wait, 10 minutes overtime. Snack, you know what, though? I do want to say, guys, I'm all keyed up today. Tuesday's a busy day, so I wake up ready to go. But can I give you a cue for a snack that isn't going to be as damaging to you? And it sounds weird, but I've switched to it from chips, and it's just simply pork rinds, chicharrones. They're fat. That fat isn't going to spike your insulin, but it's going to help you stay satiated. If you truly have breakthrough hunger, or you just have that moment, like I'm ADHD, whatever, I just have this dopamine thing going on where sometimes I want something. If I have those chicharrones, my glucose levels don't spike, but I'm getting that crunchy, snacky thing once in a while. Okay. I don't do it all the time because we shouldn't be snacking. But on the moments when I do want a snack, that's where I would land, is with some chicharrones or some pork rinds. Okay. I hope that helps you guys. We'll talk tomorrow. I know I wrote down a number of things. Essential tremors was something we wanted to look at. I think um, we were going to talk about kidneys or PCOS. I'll make a decision. We'll talk about something tomorrow. Let me know what's important to you guys. I just dropped some headphones in the garbage on accident. My desk has books and shit everywhere. Okay, I'm going to go. I could say and talk to you guys almost all day. Yeah, Pamela says snacking, that was her. When she eats fiber, it's not as bad. I agree. When you get the fiber in, it's more about just feeling full, you guys. If you understand that those fibers actually act as prebiotics, so they're helping you build natural probiotics in a healthier gut, you'll understand why I'm so in love with this whole fiber thing, and why it's always going to be a part of my life from here on out. It's helped my gut get stronger. It's helped my skin get better. Like, look, I used to have, ladies, are you suffering with things like constant yeast infections, bladder infections, bacterial infections linked to insulin resistance and the high amounts of sugar and glucose dysregulation in your system? Get that under control and those things stopped. I was plagued by that for years. And I asked my doctor, I'm like, we are doing all the washes, we're doing all the things, we're doing all the stuff. And we even blamed it off on my partner, my husband, for a while. Whatever, but we couldn't get it under control. The minute I started getting my insulin under control, those issues stopped happening. Crazy, right? So maybe we will talk about PCOS and hormonal issues and stuff tomorrow, because I think it's important to understand that. We'll see you tomorrow. I got to run. I'm already 15 minutes late, but I love you all. I love you for hanging out with me and listening to me rant every morning. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, and we'll get you some more help. In the meantime, if you want to know more, contact me. Just use the link, contact me. I've been getting messages in. Promise you guys I'm going to be getting to all of those, and love you all for hanging out and investing your time in your health. We'll see you tomorrow.